The big red Routemaster bus, for 50 years the stalwart of London's streets. Universally loved, an instantly recognisable icon on an international scale. Arguably one of London's greatest symbols.
Well, it's just iconic, isn't it?
Well, they're true London, aren't they, the buses? And I think it's great to see a few people come out, to see them for the last time, really.
It's more romantic than getting one of the new ones, that's for sure.
The 38 saved my life before.
Yeah, no, I just think they're, something that you can't really replace.
Seeing that they're going and they're not coming back.
I was choked up, I was in tears.
I don't know anyone that wants the new buses. I can't think of anyone.
We thought we'd come and say goodbye to the 22.
The process of phasing out London's 20 RM routes started in 2003. By summer 2 years later, only 5 of these routes remained as new low-floor accessibility buses became the norm. The Routemaster's day was up and Londoners had begun their protest. But Transport for London remained determined.
Now, the Routemasters have been around for almost half a century. They've been very popular to London and they've served London very, very well over the years. But really, it is time to move on. Over 90% of the bus network is currently accessible, which is a benefit both to wheelchair users, but also people that find it difficult to climb steps, parents with buggies, people with heavy shopping. Lots of people benefit from accessible buses.
In this film, we look back at the final few months of the Routemaster and ask why these vehicles are held in such high esteem. Having plied the streets for 5 decades, generations of Londoners gained an almost ardent adoration for what in effect had become part of the family. The Routemaster story started in the early 1950s as London Transport, as it was then, commissioned a brand new fleet of vehicles to replace its pre-war RT buses.
It's 1959 and the new 64-seater Routemaster buses roll off the production line. At 27 feet long, 8 feet wide and able to carry a laden weight of 11 tons, London Transport's latest £10 million replacement programme for the RT and trolleybus is really the vehicle of the future. These buses will make their full-scale appearance on November the 11th. 71 Routemasters will take to the road, giving passengers their smoothest ride ever, and should see service for at least the next 15 years. The buses are tested to their limits. The Routemaster fares well as it's put through its paces on the tilt test machine at Aldenham Works at Boreham Wood in Hertfordshire. During these suitability tests, these new buses were also sent to the Chiswick Works skid pad. Here, the bus is put through the most extreme of conditions and fares well. And the general consensus? Well, everybody's delighted with them, especially the passengers.
Today, Routemasters are confined to heritage or occasional charter work and have largely disappeared from the streets of London. But even as recently as summer 2005, they were still prevalent in central London with an almost cult following.
It's one of the very few buses on the roads of the world that you could actually identify immediately as being London. It is something which is identifiably part and parcel of the London scene. There was an inordinate amount of design effort went into producing a vehicle that was A, fit for the public to use, B, for the operator, London Transport as it then was, to use, and C, would do its job day in, day out, without any problems at all. In that, it was very successful.
This iconic status is undoubtedly due to the open platform, which has allowed generations of Londoners to hop on and off at will. But it's also due to the RM's build quality that enabled it to outlive all its competitors. The Routemaster's strong, durable design was a credit to the engineers who crafted it back in the 1950s. Many engineers have spent their whole working life on RMs and are unimpressed by their replacements.
It was designed to be quick and easy.
Yeah.
brake
tender
shoes.
loving care once a year, and she'd go for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
With an interim services in between, just to.
Because when we started, it was every 64 weeks, weren't it? Fuel pump out, injectors out, brake shoes, and you had planned maintenance on them. Whereas, you know, it was a set time. Every couple of years you changed the gearbox. 4 or 5 years it was the engine, wasn't it? 2 years for the differential, whether they needed it or not, they were done. It was all planned out, and you did it, and it kept them running, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah. Standards were very high on them.
Yeah. Must admit that when you're struggling with one of these new buses, you do get a bit nostalgic for them,
really,
don't you?
because these were simplicity themselves. I mean, there's not too many jobs that are too awkward on these.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff you could do, you know, you didn't even need a pit, did you?
I mean, pull an engine out you could virtually pull an engine out of one of these without a pit.
Yeah.
But as well as being an attractive piece of street furniture, that doesn't mean to say that it isn't functional. Every component on the bus was designed to be changed by a 2-man team in a maximum of 8 hours. Everything, even a major engine or gearbox change. A vehicle could fail or break down in the evening peak one day. It could be towed into the garage, 7:30 the following morning. 2-man, bearing in mind that they were all men in those days, a 2-man engineering team could be put onto the job, engine change, gearbox change. By the time they go home at 3:30, that vehicle will be fit for the evening peak again.
It was introduced into the streets of London as a fleet of vehicles in 1959. The last one entered service in 1968. With a 15-year design life, the last one should have been off the road in 1983, and they are still going. You can't say that about many vehicles.
While the simple but durable nature of the RM's engine might have appealed to engineers, its exterior look was also popular with ordinary punters.
The vehicle in itself was designed to be an attractive piece of street furniture. If you look at the vehicle, it's all curves. There are no sharp angles to it at all, and that was one of the main design features that the design team were given when they set out to design London's bus of the future in the late 1940s and early 1950s. And I think that's one of the reasons it's lasted. It is an attractive piece of street furniture, but it's also functional. The Routemaster has seen off its replacements, and its replacements very nearly.
The RM's unique shape and its global appeal as a London icon made it a hit with filmmakers the world over. It even managed to gain A-list status as Harry Potter mania continued to grip the world. Open platform London buses, it would seem, have always been a hit. But in retirement, the Routemaster has found new friends, one of which is David Shepherd, renowned wildlife artist and leading conservationist.
10 years ago, I thought, well, I must have a Routemaster. I think with so many machines these days, it's purely a matter of doing a job with no aesthetic feeling at all on the part of the designer who did it. And it's a very trashy age. We live in a trashy, cheap, nasty age now where, I don't know, there's no style about anything. Emotion's gone out of it. I think the designer of a steam engine or an aeroplane or a bus should have some sort of feel of emotion to create the feeling where people want to ride on it. You know, there was a desire to get on a Routemaster because you got a welcome from there was at least a human being. Now, I mean, one of my pet hates about this whole system now with Routemasters and buses in London is that you've got to pay before you get on. I think in most cases, I have to be accurate, but in most cases, for instance, a bendy bus, you have to pay before you get on. It's just the driver, and there's no conductor. And one example of what I saw the other day, walking down Buckingham Palace Road, there was a queue of people waiting for a bus, not knowing whether it was a Routemaster or anything else. It happened to be a bendy bus. It arrived, and the man at the top of the queue was a foreigner, but he was totally unable to understand what to do, whether he had a Barclay card or cash. He couldn't read the instructions, because the instructions, if there were any on the thing, had been ripped off by some mindless yobbo. And so he held up the whole queue. The bus arrived, and he couldn't get on, nor could anybody else, because they couldn't get on the bus. So off it went without any passengers. And that, to me, is quite stupid. It's totally pointless.
While the Routemaster's curvaceous lines unrivalled any of today's modern vehicles, which are largely built to a one-size-fits-all principle, it was thorough testing during the RM's 10-year design stage that proved to be the secret of its longevity.
I don't think there's a city like London for punishing vehicles.
Yeah, but the roads are so small, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you can do in central London to alter that because of the buildings. So you had to have something that fitted the roads, and this did the job.
It did it very well.
It did,
yeah. And it's still doing the job very well.
While there is no denying its design is simply world-class, for the ordinary punter in the street, it is really the sheer convenience of being able to jump on and off that truly benefited its regular audience.
This morning, as I was coming along from Marble Arch, we hit Kennington Road now, passes Kennington Lane, crosses over Kennington Lane, coming towards Streatham, when there was this bus stop just after we crossed over Kennington Lane. A 59 bus, which is one of these modern buses, was at the bus stop. Our bus was coming along. I saw no one, so I was about to give the driver the bell to continue, when this woman rushed from around the 59, you know, and waved to the driver. So the driver stopped. So she came on. We went to the next stop from there. She was still on the bus. When we left that stop, go through the traffic light, turn on Kennington Park Road now, going towards Kennington Church, the traffic light catches the bus. And she jumped off. And I said to myself, why was she so frantic for the Routemaster? Then I realized, there is a Routemaster, there's a convenience. I don't want to go all the way to the next stop. I want to get up in between. Lucky for her, the traffic light catches the bus, and she was off quite safely anyway. As a matter of fact, most people do up off the bus in their convenience in a safe way anyway. Very rarely you see an accident occur. Very, very rarely. And again, you're coming along, the bus moves out, and you're, oh my God, I want that bus. You look, you watch the speed, you judge everything, and boom, you run. You catch a bus, and you're on your way. You cannot do that with the closed-door buses.
But it was not just convenience that caught the public's imagination. The Routemaster might have been rather small inside, but was generally considered to be snug and cosy. Ironically, although the newer buses are bigger inside, the consensus is that they feel too claustrophobic.
You know, they just love the traditional Routemaster, you know, and they've noticed that they're going, and I've heard people up in arms about it. Yeah, oh yeah, they're up in arms. Because they just don't like these new buses, because they're hot, there's no air conditioning inside, there's only air conditioning for the driver. You know, and in these buses you can, you know, they're not, they're cool. That's it basically.
As routes dwindled and the seemingly unstoppable influx of new double-deck and bendy buses vied for pole position, the remaining traditional Routemasters lived on borrowed time. On board an RM on the final route, the 159 from Streatham Hill to Marble Arch, conductor Glenford Cowan witnessed a most un-British trait. The RM, it seemed, had the ability to cut through even the stiffest of barriers, the traditional British Reserve. In the final months of service, the main subject being debated amongst passengers aboard was the Icon's imminent demise.
You get a pile of one-man buses at the bus stop. Everyone's filing in single file. Sometimes they don't have the right money, or they end up getting into an argument. You get this massive pile up, the bus lanes are full, then the traffic builds up behind there. At least on these buses, everyone gets on. Then afterwards you can start talking about tickets, whether you've got the right change, whether you actually know where you're going. And this guy, he's trained to deal specifically with that aspect of it. Whereas a one-man bus driver, he's trained to drive a bus, really, not to deal with the public. And that's why he can't do his job properly as well, either. Which is why there are so many arguments, and the kind of atmosphere is not the same. It's not like people sitting around the traffic. Everyone's already in a bad mood before they've even started their journey.
While access for disabled passengers was the primary cause for the Routemaster's withdrawal, ordinary able-bodied passengers were beginning to wonder whether political correctness had become the central issue. Passengers were questioning whether it was really necessary to sacrifice all RMs, especially given the Mayor Ken Livingstone's election pledge to retain them only 5 years earlier.
People love the Routemasters. They love it for the convenience it presents. You know, especially going down Oxford Street. From, let's say, from Whitehall all the way to Marble Arch, because there's where the Routemasters end now, the 159 Routemasters end at Marble Arch now. But as you're on the bus, there are those who will come on, and they will tell you about those ticket machines that roll. And I would say, I don't want to have one of those, it's too heavy, you get what I'm saying? But they say it with such thrill, you know, as if they would prefer to see conductors with them again, to keep sustaining that history, keep having it going, you know. But as we do know, time flows, custom changes, but on a whole, people, they don't want the route masters to go. A lot of them has voiced their opinion on the bus. They have even expressed anger, you know. I don't know if I can say this though, you know. Even the mayor, they curse the mayor. They curse the mayor at times, you know. But then things have to change, innit? To make provision for push chairs, you know, disabled people in wheelchairs. But they do not carry the beauty and the elegance that the route master carries.
So there's been some negative reaction to the decision to withdraw the vehicles. I think the majority of Londoners who have experienced the modern low-floor buses that are available on the majority of routes can see the benefits because they've experienced them firsthand. But there has been some adverse reaction, and I think that's a reflection that this vehicle's been around on the London streets for a long time, and people quite rightly see as a bit of a London icon.
What's your feelings about Mr. Livingston, conductor?
Rather than use words, can I just use sign language? I voted for him the first time round. I sure didn't vote for him the second time round.
What did you vote for him the first time round?
Well, rush of blood to the head, you know. I thought, oh, he's going to do us a good deal here, but there you go, typical politician.
I've been told that it is Ken Livingstone's decision, and I'm very angry with that. I don't see why he should be able to take a decision of such mammoth import without being challenged in some way. No one's had any choice that I know of. I haven't been offered a choice.
Emotions were running high, and it was difficult to get a balance between the obvious need to provide a decent, accessible service for the disabled, whilst not alienating the need of the vast majority of the travelling public, which accounts for more than 99% of travellers.
All nurses, doctors and patients, St. Thomas's Hospital. Okay, you're welcome.
We've got a lot of buses in London now. The bus situation in London's improved dramatically, so that really isn't a problem. You know, if it's not the 159 or the 14 or the 22, there's another bus behind. Look, there's one here, for instance, excellent low access bus. So there are plenty of those. So I think we're meeting that need as a city. So it's a question really whether we can also meet the need for a bit of nostalgia and a bit of variety. And I dare say older people might feel just the same as I do about that.
To date, no debate or consultation has taken place. Transport for London, under the direction of Ken Livingstone, was quick to deflect any criticism of its policy.
The proposal to withdraw the route masters from service has clearly been a contentious issue, but we're as an organisation really keen to push forward the continued improvement of the bus network. We want to make the bus network more accessible to everyone in London, both Londoners and tourists and visitors to London, so everybody can use the bus network across the whole of London. And it was also becoming more expensive to run the route masters, and becoming more difficult to maintain them as they're getting older and older. And all those things have contributed to a desire to upgrade the fleet and to get to what will be the world's biggest accessible bus fleet.
With the route master's fate sealed without any form of public consultation, attention turned to the remaining few routes. A community spirit had built up between passengers and conductors, many of whom were on first-name terms.
Now when the buses go, what are you going to do? Have they provided a job for you? I'm like, no, but I'm not worried. I have plans, you know. And I suppose all other conductors are bombarded with the same questions as well. And there's true concern too. When they answer the question, it's not just out of mere curiosity. There is true concern, you know. Like, what are you going to do now? You're going to be unemployed, you know. They don't even look at the fact that you're probably maybe getting a little redundancy money. They don't see that. They're concerned about your continue in a job. That's what they look at. And that's why I know people can be beautiful, you know. There are very beautiful people out there. And a lot of beautiful people take this bus, trust me.
People are very emotional about losing the conductors. There's been a lot of protest to Transport for London, and also through various websites and such like comment sites on the web. Yes, people are extremely emotional, and I can draw on that from personal experience. On the last night of the Route 73s from Stamford Hill into Victoria in North London, there were a number of special journeys run with historic Routemaster vehicles and one or two older types as well, the predecessor of the Routemaster, the RT. I was a conductor on one of these special extras, actually conducting RM6, which was one of the vehicles repainted into gold for the Queen's Golden Jubilee in 2002, and it was subsequently retained for the Routemaster 50th anniversary in 2004. But I was conducting the third to last crew operated 73 from North London into Victoria, and as we went down through the streets of Stoke Newington and Islington and down through the West End, there were people out there cheering, people coming for last rides. There was a lot of emotion. We were full up from the word go. People just coming out, they knew that they were losing something that had been part of their lives for so many years, and they wanted to say goodbye. Very, very emotional day.
The final months of service saw unprecedented interest as the redundant Routemasters were snapped up for £10,000 apiece at auction. Enthusiasts came from many walks of life, including doctors, lawyers, and even a full-time bus driver.
Basically, I'm driving a legend. It's just a legend in its own right. The vehicle is lovely to drive. It's a beautiful machine. The steering, the suspension, everything's there. The indicators, everything. The foot brake, the acceleration, the power. As you said, they're high up as well. You can see ahead of you before things happen, and they're just great to drive. That's why I've owned 3 of them, I think.
On the 22nd of July, 2 of the remaining 5 routes bowed out. The popular 14 and 22, running from Putney through fashionable Chelsea to Knightsbridge and the West End, saw their last RMs with plenty of spectators on hand, and a selection of vintage buses to mark the occasion. As the 14s and 22s were operated by essentially one fleet based at Putney Garage, it was decided to stagger the evening handover to new driver-only vehicles. First to go, the 14s. Just before 9 p.m, the last 14 Routemaster in convoy with a preserved RT made its historic journey from Putney Heath Green Man to Tottenham Court Road. At 11:30 p.m, it was the turn of the 22 to leave Putney Common for the last time on its route to Piccadilly Circus. Again, the final Routemaster was chaperoned almost in a show of historic unity by its predecessor. The return run from Piccadilly Circus back to Putney Common was both high-spirited and emotional for those on board.
Here we are. Here we are, Putney Common. We'll have a safe journey.
Jim, I'll be back shortly. it must have come back from it and been paid for it.
We've got time.
Put your hand down, can't see your face, just put your hand down, that's it.
I'll land in your throat in a moment now.
started life on.
Right, okay, we'll see him in a minute.
Dad, you see,
Get out of the way, please. Shit, boy, get out of the way, please.
It's a great time to skip because the old buses are coming. I would think with it, but I just didn't think, I didn't want to wake you up.
Kita malah foto.
Without the ladder.
Postcards. Someone saying postcards. Ah, right. There we go. Also, where I thought he was when I saw him earlier. After you. He was up for you first.
No, you first.
Age of more beauty.
You first.
Super job are doing 1 to 50. Yeah? Yeah. Not bad.
That's right, yeah, let's do that. Let's start some Friday night.
They mostly come out for last RM days. Come on, brother! Get those knees pumping! Hey, 2700, Memory Lane's one. What's that doing down here?
Plenty of room on that.
Can we sneak on into the terminal, Steve?
Yeah, we'll let go in that turn.
Well, I realised that.
Yeah, going next. I did. Yeah, it's probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
think you'll join me in thanking the conductor for a really special last rounder. Cheers! To them! Hooray! To them! Hooray! Hooray! He's a jolly good fellow, he's a jolly good fellow, he's a jolly good fellow, and so for all of us.
Here we are. Here we are. Flatly common. We'll have a safe journey.
Jim.
Cheers.
I'll be back to talk to you in a
Good night, folks. All the best. Bye-bye. Cheers, Jim.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
a lot. Nice meeting you, man. Enjoy your walk. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night, folks. All the best to you.
All the best.
Yeah, all the best. See ya.
All the best.
Cheers, mate. All the best. Good night, folks.
Good night.
All right. I hope you didn't mind that bit of the gesture, folks. That's my way of saying
Wonderful,
thank you.
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay,
You're an
thank you.
X36 mate?
I am, yeah.
All
And
the best.
12. Quite a few different routes.
Thanks, mate. Well done.
Okay,
Cheers.
good
Thanks a
night,
lot.
folks. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
cheers.
you.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
End of vanilla. Well, he's in.
These are replacement engines. They've stopped using the AECs, obviously, because they wore out and they couldn't re-engineer them. But having a front engine is a lot better. You can get to everything quite easy. You take this wing off. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Lift it off. You get to everything. Standing by the suspension there, you get to everything quite easily. Changing the engine is easy job. You've got 4 mountings, 2 at the front, 2 at the back, fuel pipes, water pipes, disconnect the prop shaft, pull the engines just straight out with we use a forklift now to hook it up, take it out. Don't even have to take the bonnet off to do it. That's it with the engine, it's so easy. Radiator at the front, so good cooling, because as you're going along you get the ram effect of air being forced through, plus you've got a fan behind which helps draw it through. But that's that. Front suspension is independent, coil spring with a damper in the middle of them, hung on what we call the boat, front axle we call the boat. Drum brakes, self-adjusting ratchets on there for the brake shoes, keeps them to a steady gap. Brilliant brakes, hydraulic. Emergency pressure, you're looking at £1,250 per square inch. Yeah, in here you had your hydraulic reservoir for your brakes. Yeah, powered all round, because as I said before, there are hydraulic brakes on these, which I think they were the first bus to have, I'm sure they were, to have hydraulic brakes, power assisted with a pump mounted on the gearbox, which pumped it all round. And like I say, they were brilliant brakes because you put your foot on the brake and you could make it dive. Fuel tank, 30 gallon, which was enough to see you through the day. Rear axle, nice and simple. Differential on the near side, take you about an hour to take down. That's if you stop for a cup of tea. Yeah. Batteries are behind here. You can check them from here, take them out from here, or you could go inside, open up the flap on the luggage rack in there, get to your batteries in there. All thought of, made it so easy for you. This panel is rubber. The whole idea of that was if somebody went into it, instead of denting it, it just gave. I mean, if they hit it hard enough, obviously it's split, but brilliant idea. I don't know why we don't use it now. Rear lights have been modified now. At one time you had 2 side lights, or 2 tail lights rather, your indicators, and a brake, indicators, side and brake light in one, fitted on here. You also had your number plate light. Platform. The only trouble with these were they tended to give after a while, they'd sag. But they were so simple because you could do a complete rear section on them. They were made, the same as the stairs were made in 2 sections, so you could change them easily. Yeah. Basically that's it. It's a simple bus, made for London, did its job well, it's lasted 50 years, and it's a shame we're losing it. That's the way it goes.
London's newest bus driver? No, not quite. That would be a waste. Cliff was soon at home on the skid pan, ready to be instructed how to handle the bus. It's one thing to be a good car driver. Piloting a 7.5-tonner is another. But the learner was promising, not a trace of nerves. Getting back to that new picture, it's about a gang of bus drivers and mechanics who take a London bus across Europe as far as Greece. For the cost, that doesn't sound a bad way to earn a living.